Okay, so get this. The man I was supposed to spend the rest of my life with is on the other side of the planet, probably sulking on a yacht, while I'm sitting in his parents' living room. And this living room? I mean, it's less of a room and more of a museum gallery where the art happens to be furniture. There's a marble coffee table between us the size of my first apartment. And on that table are two documents. One is the prenup my ex-fiancé, Leo, gave me. The one that basically said if we ever divorced, I'd owe him money for the pleasure of having been his wife. The other document is new. Leo's father, a man who communicates mostly through disappointed sighs and stock market quotes, slides the new one across the marble. We'd like you to look at our counteroffer, he says, his voice as dry as 100-year-old paper. His wife, a woman who wears diamonds to breakfast, nods once. We believe you'll find these terms more equitable. I'm just staring at them, completely baffled. A counteroffer? You want me to get back with your son? Leo's dad actually lets out a short, sharp laugh. It sounds like a dog barking once. Good heavens no, he says. We want you to take the deal. The boy is a fool. We, on the other hand, are not. Yeah, that's how I ended up in a negotiation with my ex-boyfriend's parents to get paid to not marry their son. And the crazy part is, this whole mess started with the most romantic proposal I could have ever imagined. It all began, as these things often do, in a way that felt like a movie. I met Leo Sterling 2 years ago. I was a freelance graphic designer, which is a nice way of saying I was fueled by caffeine and anxiety, working out of a coffee shop that had reliable Wi-Fi. He was Leo Sterling. He walked in wearing a suit that probably cost more than my car, ordered a black coffee, and then accidentally spilled it all over my laptop. It was mortifying for him, hilarious for me. I mean, my laptop had seen worse. He was so ridiculously apologetic, he insisted on buying me a brand new one, right then and there. I refused, of course, but I did let him buy me dinner as an apology. And then another dinner. And another. Leo was charming, attentive, and lived in a world I'd only seen in magazines. His family's name was on buildings. My family's name was on a pile of overdue library books. But it didn't seem to matter. He loved that I had my own thing, my own career that I was passionate about. I loved that he was, underneath the trust fund and the fancy watches, just a guy who could make me laugh. For 2 years, it was perfect. We traveled. We built a life. I fell completely and totally in love with him. I even got to know his parents, Arthur and Eleanor Sterling. They were intense. Stiff is a good word. They were polite to me in the way you're polite to a waiter. Acknowledging my existence, but not particularly interested in my backstory. I always felt like I was being evaluated, like they were running a cost-benefit analysis on me in their heads. Still, they were Leo's parents, and I tried my best. The proposal happened on our 2-year anniversary, in a tiny village in the south of France. He'd rented out an entire vineyard. There were candles, a string quartet, the whole 9 yards. He got down on one knee with a ring that was so bright, I'm pretty sure it's visible from space. I cried. I said yes. It was the easiest yes of my life. I felt like the luckiest woman in the world. That feeling lasted until we got back to New York. We were at his penthouse apartment, the one with the panoramic views of Central Park, when he brought it up. He was fidgeting, which was unlike him. Leo was a man who oozed confidence. Hey, babe, he started, not looking at me. So, my parents, you know how they are. They have their lawyers and, well, he slid a thick, leather-bound folder onto the glass table between us. My heart did a little lurch. What's this? It's just a prenup, he said, trying to sound casual. It's a total formality. Just something my dad insists on for, legacy protection. A cold feeling started to creep up my spine, but I pushed it down. Okay, rich people have prenups. I get it. I wasn't after his money. I had my own business, which was finally starting to take off. I loved him. So I smiled and said, okay, sure. I'll have my lawyer take a look at it. The way the color drained from his face should have been my first major red flag. Your lawyer? Babe, that's not necessary. It's all standard stuff. We can just sign it. Leo, I said, keeping my voice light. I'm not signing a legal document without my own lawyer reading it first. That's just being smart. He backed down, but he was clearly annoyed. I took the binder and made an appointment with a lawyer my friend recommended. A sharp, no-nonsense woman named Jessica. I sat in her office a few days later, sipping stale coffee while she read through the document. The silence in the room grew heavier and heavier. Her eyebrows kept climbing higher up her forehead. After about 20 minutes, she finally put the papers down, took off her glasses, and looked at me. "Okay, I have to ask," she said. "Is this a prank? Are you secretly filming a reality show?" I laughed nervously. "No." "Why?" She pointed a pen at the binder. "Because this isn't a prenuptial agreement. This is a surrender document. This is what you give to a hostile nation after you've lost a war." My blood ran cold. "What do you mean?" "Let me give you the highlights," she said, flipping through the pages. Clause 4B states that in the event of a divorce, you are not entitled to any marital assets. None. It doesn't matter if you've been married for 1 year or 50 years. "Okay," I said slowly. "I guess I can see that." "Oh, it gets better," she cut me off. Clause 7C. Any gift he or his family gives you with a value exceeding $500 is considered a loan, and in the event of a divorce, the full market value is to be repaid by you, with interest. I just stared at her. "The engagement ring?" I whispered. "You'd be paying that off for the rest of your life," Jessica confirmed grimly. But my personal favorite is Clause 11A, the infidelity clause. If you are unfaithful, you forfeit everything and are liable for emotional damages to be determined by a Sterling-appointed arbitrator. However, if he is unfaithful. She paused for dramatic effect. It's considered a stress-related indiscretion and is not grounds for altering the financial agreement. I felt sick. It was like the air was being sucked out of the room. This wasn't just a document to protect his assets. This was a trap. It was designed to control me, to put me in a position of absolute powerlessness. But the worst part, Jessica continued, her voice softer now, is the lifestyle stipend. They're offering you an annual allowance for personal expenses. It's less than minimum wage. And, get this, it's contingent on a quarterly review of your behavior by his parents. That was it. The mask didn't just slip, it shattered. This wasn't about legacy. This was about ownership. They wanted to buy a wife for their son, and I was the commodity. I confronted Leo that night. I was calm. Ice cold, actually. The hurt was so deep it had frozen into a solid block of anger in my chest. I laid the prenup on the table. "I read it," I said. "Great," he replied, not picking up on the iceberg-sized danger signals. "So we can sign it and get back to wedding planning?" "Leo, did you read it?" I asked. "I skimmed it," he said, waving a dismissive hand. "It's just lawyer talk, babe. You know I don't deal with that stuff. My dad handles it." "Your dad handles it," I repeated, my voice flat. "So your dad decided that if you cheat on me, it's a stress-related indiscretion? Your dad decided that I should pay you back for my own birthday presents? Your dad decided that I should be paid an allowance like a child, subject to your parents' approval." He had the grace to look ashamed for about a second. Then the classic Sterling entitlement kicked in. "You're overreacting. This is how it works in my world. You knew who I was when you met me. This is about trust. If you really loved me, you wouldn't be making a big deal out of this. You wouldn't care about the money." My blood was boiling. I literally saw red. He was using my love for him as a weapon against me. "You're right," I said, my voice dangerously quiet. "I don't care about your money, which is why I don't need it. And I don't need a husband who thinks so little of me that he'd ask me to sign a contract of indentured servitude. We're done, Leo." I've never seen someone so shocked. It was like he couldn't process it. "You're breaking up with me? Over a piece of paper?" "No," I said, looking him dead in the eye. "I'm breaking up with you over what's written on it. It shows me exactly what you and your family think of me. It shows me that you don't see me as a partner. You see me as an acquisition." I took the engagement ring off and placed it on top of the prenup. "I believe this is considered a loan," I said. "Consider it repaid." I walked out of that penthouse and didn't look back. The days that followed were a blur of tears and Ben and Jerry's. I mourned the man I thought he was, the future I thought we had. His texts and voicemails were a pathetic mix of angry tirades and half-hearted apologies. He accused me of being a gold digger, of proving his family right. It hurt, but it also solidified my decision. I had dodged a cannonball. Then, a week after the breakup, I got the call. It was Eleanor Sterling. Her voice was crisp and formal. She didn't apologize or try to convince me to get back with Leo. She just said, "Arthur, and I would like to meet with you. We have a business proposition." Curiosity got the better of me. What could they possibly want? To yell at me in person? I agreed, and that's how I ended up in their museum-like living room, staring at a new document. "We owe you an apology," Arthur said, and I almost fell off the ridiculously expensive antique chair. We did instruct our lawyers to draft a standard agreement. However, Leo took it upon himself to add several, frankly, barbaric clauses. He believed it would be a clever way to test your loyalty. I was stunned into silence. This was even worse. This wasn't just his parents being controlling. This was Leo, my Leo, deliberately creating a cruel test to humiliate me. "He failed the test, not you," Eleanor said, her eyes sharp. "He proved to us that he is not mature enough to manage his own affairs, let alone the family's future. He is impulsive, arrogant, and, frankly, not very bright." Arthur nodded. "Which brings us to our proposition. We've been watching you for 2 years. You're intelligent. You're ambitious. You built your own business from nothing. You have integrity. You walked away from a billion-dollar fortune on principle. That, in our world, is a spine of steel." He slid the new document closer. "This is not a prenup. This is an investment contract. We are prepared to offer you $5 million in seed capital to expand your design firm. No strings attached to our son. We want to invest in you." I was speechless. I just stared at them. This had to be some kind of trick. "Why?" I finally managed to croak out. "Because we are business people," Eleanor said simply. "We know a good investment when we see one. Our son has proven to be a liability. You have proven to be an asset. It's that simple. We are cutting Leo off financially. He needs to learn the value of a dollar and of a person. Perhaps this will be the lesson he needs." I spent the next hour with them and their lawyers. The contract was real. It was ironclad. They wanted to invest in my company, giving me full creative and operational control. They would be silent partners. Their reasoning was cold, calculating, and completely devoid of emotion. And in that moment, I respected them more than I ever had before. They weren't being kind. They were being pragmatic. They were cutting their losses on a bad investment, their own son, and diversifying their portfolio with a promising startup, me. So I signed it. I took their money. The aftermath was chaotic. Leo went nuclear when he found out. He called me, screaming, crying, accusing me of seducing his parents and stealing his inheritance. The irony was so thick I could barely breathe. I just said, "This isn't a loan, Leo. This is a gift. Goodbye," and I blocked his number for good. As for me, I used that money to build my dream. I hired a team. I opened a real office, a beautiful studio in Soho. My business exploded. The Sterling name opened doors, but it was my talent and hard work that kept them open. Arthur and Eleanor became my unlikely mentors. Our meetings are quarterly, just like the behavioral reviews in Leo's prenup, but instead of judging me, they advise me on market trends and expansion strategies. It's the weirdest, most incredible relationship I've ever had. I heard through the grapevine that Leo had to get a real job. He's an entry-level analyst at some firm that his dad's competitor owns. He's paying rent on a normal apartment. He's learning what it's like to live in the real world. Maybe one day he'll even become a decent human being. But honestly, I don't really care. Sometimes I think about that insulting prenup. It was meant to be my cage, my leash. But in the end, it turned out to be the key that set me free. It showed me the truth about the man I was about to marry and, in the most twisted way possible, it introduced me to the 2 most powerful business partners a girl could ask for.